One of Fallout 4's most popular mods ever just got a major update in June with remote explosives. This mod's going to implement C4 and a variety of other remote explodables into Fallout 4. Basic C4 is on par with the other standard explosives. And of course, the really fun part about this is you could throw it down, run away, and then remotely detonate this later, really whenever you want. No timers or proximity triggers, just pure explosive fun. But even beyond that, there's also a weaker, improvised version of the C4, a pulse version that can be used against robots, and with the most recent 2.0 update for this mod, which just came out, there's a new mini nuke variant that was added in, which as you could imagine packs a serious punch. Because yeah, having remotely controlled mini nukes that you can kind of just throw wherever you want in Fallout 4 is genuinely a lot of fun. And as enjoyable as it is to just run around and lay down C4 traps or even throw the C4 at enemies' faces, and yes, this will do damage if you land it on their face, and then of course you can quickly detonate it while running away, but put all of that behind you because what is perhaps the single best method of use with C4 is pickpocketing, which also just got an update. Remote Explosives actually uses a custom pickpocket framework, so you can place the C4 in an enemy's inventory and then detonate it whenever you want. There's no timer here either, so it is fully up to you as to when you want to trigger the C4. And this most recent update brought some tweaks to this. The detonator is now silent, so as you activate it, enemies won't be alerted, and C4 will always be lethal because, yeah, having C4 in your pocket isn't a great time. And this 2.0 update even further brought some updated visuals for the detonator itself, along with a bunch of new skins you can assign to it, and the pieces of C4 were rebalanced to be less OP, but a bit cheaper to build. But even beyond just some mod updates, June saw a ton of incredible Fallout 4 mod releases. Settlers can finally build for themselves in Fallout 4, but perhaps even a bit crazier, June saw a new questline release for Fallout 4 that includes one of the original voice actors from the game. Like, yeah, one of the people that professionally voice acted in Fallout 4 is coming back to voice act for a mod. That's epic. And that isn't even the only quest mod I'll be showing off in this video. But something most of you probably don't know is I spent 4 valuable years of my life getting a degree in psychology. I used to share psychology fun facts on the channel all the time, such as with spontaneous remission. This is a wild phenomena where a surprisingly large number of people will feel relief after just making their first appointment with a therapist. Not even going to therapy, just making an appointment can help for a ton of people. So if you are struggling, it might be worth taking that first step, and you can potentially do it with today's video sponsor, BetterHelp. If you go to betterhelp.com/JuiceHead, you'll answer a few questions and then get connected with a licensed therapist who will listen and give you unbiased advice. And this is super flexible. It could be a phone call, video chat, or even just messaging if you want to keep things low key. Tons of people out there don't talk about their feelings because they feel like they're being a burden. But with BetterHelp, you can get connected to a therapist within 48 hours and start talking, because therapy is just conversation with a purpose. And at least for me, I felt a major weight off my shoulders even just from those first few sessions. So let BetterHelp connect you with a therapist who can support you, all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/JuiceHead or choose JuiceHead during sign up and enjoy a special discount on your first month. But the mod that I think is going to interest a ton of you is Shady Motives. This is a brand new quest mod featuring voice acting from Wes Johnson, who voices several characters in Fallout 4 as well as many other Bethesda games. And this is a really cool one on a few fronts. Firstly, this new questline is incredibly engaging. The core premise is a group is looking to establish a new religion in the Commonwealth. But naturally, the children of Adam are proving to be a real problem with that. So we're going to work with this new group to circumvent that problem, typically through force. And what that actually means is you'll be getting into a bunch of combat in new and unique locations, because yes, custom dungeons were made for this mod, so you'll be exploring those as well as taking on the children of Adam. But thankfully this mod strikes a nice balance of a bunch of combat content that actually is pretty fun because you're going to a bunch of new locations, but also some incredibly high quality questing content in addition to that.
Hey.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. You have no idea what I've been through. I thought I was a goner.
Over the course of these quests, you'll be unlocking new weapons that are implemented into the mod, and of course, you get to keep these after the fact. But over the course of this one, you're going to unlock quite a few things, including a new player home, as well as new armors in addition to these new weapons. As well as this mod features some incredibly high-quality voice acting.
And you brought back Cabbage. Hey, for the most part, unscathed. Impressive. And I'm not just saying that to butter you up.
You'll be left with a companion once the mod finishes, and even beyond them, pretty much everyone in this mod sounds absolutely fantastic. And they did a good job at making the writing suck you in pretty early on. Like, yeah, you're establishing a new religion, that's kind of the core premise, but pretty quickly into this one, you'll realize that there is more going on for you to uncover.
Now, first, excuse me.
This mod does have a great balance of combat and story, as well as tons of rewards for your character, and what makes this even crazier is all of this was made in about one weekend. It was recently a part of the Voice-A-Palooza, where this mod was created live, implementing elements voted on by the community. This was all done for charity, so if you are interested, I'll have a link to the donation page down below also. And this really is a great mod to jump into with some of those new weapon mods. And what was probably my favorite new weapon mod of the last few months, we also do have the Pipe Carbine. You've seen the service rifle, and then you've seen 5 more service rifles because, yeah, it's one of the most common weapons added into Fallout 4. And yeah, the Pipe Carbine will be yet another service rifle mod for Fallout 4, but this time around with a pretty fun change up, because this is going to be a crappy rusted variant of the service rifle, meant to fit alongside the other pipe weapons of Fallout 4. So you can think of this as a highly customizable early game AR, which does occupy a pretty nice spot in Fallout 4. It certainly opens up some build possibilities for the earlier part of the game. The weapon itself looks fantastic. It has a myriad of attachment options, the things you would expect, so you can take this from a carbine to a rifle to just really a crappy looking service rifle that looks like it was imported from the Mojave and then ran over. And there's even a special unique variant somewhere in the Commonwealth that'll fire nails instead of bullets and has a really cool design on it. It's a simple mod, but it does everything right, and it really has all of the features you would hope it does. And for me, it's really the implementation that brings this one to the next level. It's a nice low-powered weapon that's pretty well balanced for the early game, and I think looks pretty cool. But maybe you want something a bit more unique, as we also do have some new throwing knives for Fallout 4. Select Throwing Knives is going to be the perfect mod for stealth players, and this one's a bit unique. These aren't like those other throwing knife mods out there. This one occupies the main weapon slot as opposed to a secondary grenade slot. And since you're using this as a primary weapon as opposed to a throwable, these throwing knives feature some really epic custom animations as well as deal a ton of damage. The throwing knives themselves can be crafted after you find the first one, and then you have the fun part, where if you successfully land your throwing knives into enemies, you will almost always be able to loot them after the fact. So you kind of have an unlimited ammo weapon, at least to some degree, just don't miss. And it's honestly a super fun gameplay style to just run around with these, taking down enemies one by one, potentially using stealth in the middle. But if you do want something more traditional, this mod also includes a throwing knife melee weapon, as well as a grenade slot variant of the throwing knives that frankly look a lot less cool, but are kind of just as effective. Although another really epic and unique quest mod is Boon Island, Isles of New England. This may sound familiar to some of you, as Boon Island is a real-world location, and in Fallout 4, you'll find a boat right off the coast of the Commonwealth that will take you to this completely standalone world space, which really is just going to be a small island with a lighthouse as well as a regular house on it. And yes, you can use this as a settlement. This mod's pretty simple, but absolutely awesome with what it does. The quest is short, but incredibly impactful. You'll almost certainly feel something from doing this quest. And overall, I would describe it as a fun experience, but I almost don't want to show you much of anything because of how easy it is to spoil, because again, it's a relatively short quest. And after that quest, you will have Boon Island for yourself, and this is a phenomenal place to call home. It's a totally new world space, but actually has a working map, which is shockingly rare in Fallout 4 modding. Around the main island, you're going to be able to find some things, and these are going to be based off of the real world surroundings of Boon Island, some of the crash things around it, which I thought was a nice touch. And the island will have a workshop with a really cool rebuild feature. So you're able to repair the various structures built up on this island to get them back into working order and just generally looking good. So Boon Island can very quickly become one of the coolest settlements you're able to build up in Fallout 4, and there's quite a bit to find on this island. Even beyond just this regular quest and some of the marked locations, there are quite a few unmarked things that you can stumble upon both on the island and in the water. It's a really simple one, but genuinely an awesome quest mod that I highly recommend giving a go. Even if you're not into settlement building, I just feel like this is a cool location to build up a small house. And perhaps the best news of all, this is just part 1 of the Isles of New England series, so I'm really curious and hopeful to see where things go next. But then we have a mod that's implementing a feature that many of us have wanted for years now with settler-built settlements. This will give your settlers the ability to construct their own things over time at your settlements. So instead of this settlement just being perpetually vacant, your settlements will now gradually get built up. The way this works is you need to place down this new settlement supplies object that can be fairly costly, but after that, you just go away and the next time you return, you'll find more of your settlement built up, and this will get built up over time. So my settlers at 10 Pines Bluff constructed a perimeter wall around the settlement and began setting up housing for the residents that were rolling in. You can find new resource production as well as farming and water resources were set up to meet their needs. Starlight Drive-In was far simpler, perhaps the people here are dumb. My settlers mostly just focused on the housing for the plethora of citizens, so several new prefabs were set up with tons of beds so everyone had somewhere to sleep, with Nordhagen Beach easily being the most impressive of the bunch. My settlement here turned into a full-on town, with a perimeter wall that you'd walk up to, housing for just about everyone, and even resource production right in the center of the town. Overall, this mod is meant to almost be a simple take on something like Sim Settlements, so it's a lot less hands-on, no quest, and not really building full-on cities, just building something simple. But honestly, if you're not super into settlement building, I think this is a phenomenal mod to download. It allows your settlers to kind of build up enough for themselves to meet their basic needs, and then you could build on top of that if you want to. As well as this mod does work with Sim Settlements, so you can kind of use this as a stepping stone before building up a full and proper city. And overall, I really like this one. It makes these settlers feel like an active participant in the settlements you're creating, and frankly, not having all of the work fall on me is just a really nice feature. And a great mod to complement this one is dynamic furniture. This will add in a whole set of new buildable furniture that your settlers can use, and items will be dynamically placed on that furniture while in use. So largely this will mean food. You can place down tables and booths, and your NPCs will go to those and have full-fledged meals, drinks, foods, and more. But there's going to be other variants as well, so you can place down things like desks and grills, but overall it's a pretty simple but nice quality of life mod. It does a really good job at making those settlements feel a lot more lived in, and one settlers say,
"If you work, you eat. It's as simple as that."
It makes a bit more sense when you have this mod installed. But beyond all of that, we also just got a bunch of new weapons and armors from Tumbajamba. The Pryolator and Heavy Flamer armor are a pretty cool combo. This will add in a new modified flamer weapon along with a heavy set of armor to be used by the gunners, almost like a heavy flame trooper armor. The Pryolator has a few barrel mods so you could fire it from a range or use it up close like a typical flamer. And the armor has this nice double effect. It looks really good, but it's also integrated into the level list of the gunners, so you'll find them wearing this armor, making that faction just a bit more interesting. As well as somewhere in the Commonwealth, there's going to be a special empowered gunner that's using a unique variant of both the armor as well as the weapon that you can get for yourself. And if you like that one, you'll almost certainly also like the heavy shotgun and gunner armor. This adds in another new set of armor as well as a new weapon. This weapon is a heavy shotgun, and it fits perfectly into that Gatling tier of weapon. It's a big bulky shotgun that can deal a significant amount of DPS over time, as well as this even has a mod to make it fire rockets, which is just completely OP, but a ton of fun to use. But what is perhaps my favorite of the new Tumbajamba armors, there's also the heavy gunner armor. This looks great, and it's also implemented into the level list, so you'll find gunners wearing this one. As well as this too has a unique gunner somewhere with a seriously powerful set of this armor as well as a shotgun. But the Railroad and Minutemen got to participate as well, as Tumbajamba also released the Railroad heavy armor as well as the Minutemen scout outfit. These are definitely a bit simpler, being the armors only, but I still think they look great. And with the Minutemen option, you could find some members of the faction wearing this armor. But with that said, those are the best Fallout 4 mods to drop in the month of June, and if you're looking for even more Fallout 4 mod content, check out this video.